Hello everybody and welcome back to Crow's Nest Book Reviews. Before we get into reviewing this fantastic book, I just wanted to apologize for the lack of videos for the last 2 months after my introduction video. I just went into a little bit of a reading slump and was also in the middle of a lot of book 2s and 3s that I wanted my first review to be a book 1 of a new series I hadn't read yet. I didn't want to start in the middle. But we're finally here with book 1 of the Legacy Trilogy by Matthew Ward. This is Legacy of Ash, and I absolutely love this book. But before I get into why, let's talk about what it's about. 15 years ago, Catra Chelan led the Southsires in a failed revolt against the Tressian Republic. Now her son Josiri is a political prisoner, trapped in a very lavish but still in a prison, leading his people in exile, basically a figurehead to keep the peace and keep his people in line. All while behind the scenes he's stoking the fire of that rebellion his mother once burned with. Her daughter, Kelen Trelan, wants nothing to do with her. Having been raised away from her, she barely knew her mother, does not have the same ties to that revolution as her brother does, and just wants nothing. She just wants to be her own person, to get away from that name by any means necessary, and basically make her own life. And Victor Akadra, the champion of the Tressian Council, the man that actually defeated Catra Chelan's rebellion once and for all, is a man with a dangerous secret that could see him burned as a heretic. But he has strong ideals, and he just wants to heal the rift between the people of the North Shires and the people of the South Shires that once revolted. While the prince of the neighboring empire, Hadari, is seeking to cement his claim to the throne by conquering Tressia, starting with the very South Shires that no one seems to want to defend except for Victor. And the gods themselves have their own plans, pulling their strings, picking their sides, and just causing the mayhem we love to see in any epic fantasy novel. And when I say epic, I do mean epic. I talked about those 3 main POV characters, but there are probably a good 4 or 5 other POVs that we see a lot of through the book, and each one is distinct, each one is memorable and compelling. I never once got to a POV and thought, oh no, not them again, or why can't we get back to this other character? I was just enjoying every second with each character, and when I was in their chapter, I was just thinking of their chapter and enjoying their storyline. And they also have fantastic growth in this one book alone, because this is like an entire trilogy. I mean, this is about 800 pages. It feels like I went through so much in this one book. But every character, amazing growth, great character moments for everyone. Everyone gets their time to shine. Even characters that I was a little bit more lukewarm by the end, I was loving them too. It really was just fantastic on the character end. In terms of the world, this is one of the most magic-heavy worlds I've seen since Stormlight Archive. I'm sure anyone that sees this probably has. Most people that I know have read the Stormlight Archive, so you'll know what I'm talking about. Except it's not really necessarily in the battle sense. There is a little bit of that, but it's just in the general, just magic everywhere. There are magical beings, there are magical constructs, there's enchantments, there's demons and angels and other worlds, and just all of that. Just magic in your face. It's like a breath of fresh air. I absolutely loved it. It's great atmosphere. Much darker tone than you'll usually see in a fantasy novel. Like, it's a little something close to Mistborn in the sense that it's kind of a grittier, darker sort of world. Like, mists and just a lot of mists and stuff like that. Of just like this darker, not necessarily like depressing, but just a sort of heavier darkness and stuff like that. It's like dark high fantasy almost. If that isn't a thing, well, this book made it one, basically. Politics, some of the best political intrigue I've seen since A Song of Ice and Fire. Like there's such good political strife. Like I said, with the North Shires and the South Shires, they're both the same country, but one's a shunned people that ever since that rebellion, and even before the rebellion, they were seen as lesser and looked down on. And that rebellion, that failed rebellion, basically just turned it into, everyone down there is just, terrible, or they're plotting against us and doing all these terrible things and just unruly, all of that. And then you've got different factions in the royal houses and people. There's a character that very much reminds me of Cersei from A Song of Ice and Fire, except a few very major key differences. I'll leave it at that because I obviously don't want to go too deep into spoilers, because I really do think everyone that sees this review should be reading this book. I think everyone should be reading this book. This is like I said, my favorite debut I've read in years. Other than that, I really don't know what else I can say to get people to read this book, other than seriously, it's just, I was enamored from page 1 to the end, and when I wasn't reading it, I was thinking about it. I could not, I only wish, the only reason it took me 3 weeks to read is because I had stuff going on in my work, and I was doing a lot of audiobooks and just was getting a bit sucked into gaming. But I think when I get to the second book in the series, probably sometime in July, hopefully, I've kind of got a very packed July schedule, which I will talk about in another video. I will hopefully get to that next month, because I would really like to continue this series. And if it sticks the landing, because I have read book ones of a series that I absolutely loved, and then it fell off. Like Lightbringer 1 was another one of my, it wasn't a debut, but it was one of my favorite book ones, and then by the end of that series, it was one of the worst things I'd ever read in my life. So, but I don't see that happening, just because I loved this way more than I loved The Black Prism from Lightbringer. Like, this was no contest, absolutely phenomenal to me. And I hope more people will read it, because, like I said, no one talks about this book. So I don't know if I'm just crazy or just nobody has caught on to this, because this book was so good that I don't understand why no one else is talking about it. I've heard nothing about it. Like, this review I'm making is the first review I've seen for it, because I was like, I haven't seen any reviews for it, so I need to make one and get people to read it, hopefully. So, with all that being said, I'm going to stop rambling for no reason and kind of end things off here and say that hopefully in the next week or so I will come out with maybe my top 10 series videos. I'm not sure. Like I said, I want to try to do one book a week. That's my plan. At the very least, I want to be more consistent than one video every 2 months. But I am excited to actually get back into the swing of things and kind of join the booktube scene, and maybe hopefully eventually get to do things with other people. I haven't figured any of that out yet, but I couldn't really even think about that until I actually became an actual booktuber without one single video and no reviews to my name. So I hope you guys will have me, and please, for the love of everything, read this book at some point in your life. Alright, I will see you guys next time.